and welcome to SF Live. I'm your host, Christina Marie Flores. Well, if you ever wonder where the money is that you pay to the city, where does that go? We have someone with us tonight that's going to be helping us figure that out. We have San Francisco Treasurer, José Cisneros. Hello, Jose.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. So the city treasurer.
Yes.
Is that what you dreamt of becoming when you were a kid?
I'm not sure I had a dream about it, but I'm excited to be here. I really enjoy this job.
Very good.
It's a very fun job. Actually, the full title is Treasurer Tax Collector. I don't mind, though, when people leave off the tax collector.
I can imagine. That's not always the best intro for
Well,
you.
it's part of the job. It's an important part.
Very good. So where did you grow up, Jose?
So I grew up in Michigan, a town called Muskegon. It's relatively small, a very pretty place. I lived there all my life until I went to college in Boston.
So as a kid, were you good with money? I mean, were you making like the lemonade stands and kind of investing money in better lemons, or?
You know, I always had a job I was working at. It wasn't a lemonade stand, but I had a paper route. I want to say, I don't know exactly what age that was, but it was probably starting 12 or 13. As soon as I could lug all those papers around on my bike, I was delivering papers on the paper route, and then I was always working once I was 16 through high school. I was always a saver, let's put it that way. I was good at saving my money, and I knew I wanted to, I was probably going to need it for college someday, so I was pretty good at saving. I wasn't a big spender, more of a saver.
What did you spend when you did spend on things?
I saved it for college. I ended up going to MIT in Boston. That was a big move, a big departure from someone from a small town in Michigan to go to Boston. I really enjoyed being in a big city and being able to learn a lot about the culture there and the different types of people there. There was a lot more diversity in a big city like Boston there was where I grew up. So I really enjoyed that, and it was nice to be able to be there. I ended up living there after college until finally moving here to San Francisco.
So back in Michigan, were there a lot of Latino families where you grew up?
You know, honestly, there weren't. I would say I was probably in most of the time in school when I was growing up, I was the only Latino that I really saw or knew of. I think that's always helped me develop a strong interest in learning about people's backgrounds and understanding more about differences we see in the people around us. It kind of oftentimes led me in the jobs I had after college to be engaged in areas of work around diversity and how do we value people that bring different skills and experiences and backgrounds to the workplace or to anything we're engaged in.
And when you were young, was your family very involved in saving? Is that where you learned it from, your parents?
Both my parents were pretty practical. In fact, they worked hard. We didn't have a lot of money, but they were always very good about planning how they used their money, and they used it well. They had 4 children, and so, you know, I give them a lot of credit. They did a lot for all of us, and they really bestowed, I want to say, really good values, just because, you know, they were more practical than they were frivolous. They enjoyed having fun, but they were always practical at the same time, and I think it gave me a good outlook on a lot of those things.
Now, do you think that people were more practical back then when we were kids than they are now because there wasn't the access to like credit cards and things and just being bombarded everywhere with ads and things that we are supposed to want to have?
Yeah.
You know, do you think that's a reason why?
I think there's a lot to that. I think there's a lot of differences between life now and life, you know, years and years ago. I know when I grew up, you know, it was a big deal to get a new television. You know, I mean, that was a big deal. You know, getting a new car, you know, in our family meant getting a good value on a used car, not getting a brand new car most of the time. And so, I mean, it just, I think for a lot of people, and maybe still for some people today, you know, there was less of the consumerism going on around us. It was less social and peer pressure to be always one step ahead. Maybe that was true for a few people. It certainly wasn't true for many of the families I saw growing up where I was, and I think people were just happy to be successful and getting by with what they were making and with what their kids needed, and, you know, making their family and their household successful was really their #1 priority.
And so you sent yourself to MIT, and did you like school?
You know, I've always liked school and always done well in school, but I gotta be honest, when I went to Boston, I was a little distracted by being in a big city for the first time ever. I really enjoyed that. Like I said, I loved exploring different neighborhoods and meeting different types of people. So I gave I think enough attention to school, but I really stayed engaged with the community. For example, I pretty much always had some sort of a part-time job, even while I was in college. And I know not everybody does that, so though some people do. For me, it was a necessity just to be able to afford college, but it also meant a way for me to have another experience and be able to be part of the community in a different way than just going to class every day.
What job did you have back then?
Oh, gosh. I had a couple of different jobs. I worked in a men's clothing store for a while.
It shows because you look really nice right now. The suit fits very well.
I learned one or two things about that, maybe. And then I got jobs in like a small consulting firm, and it ended up being a good set of experiences for me because I ended up getting my degree in management. The MIT actually has a very good school of management there, and I got a degree in business and management. And so I was working in a consulting firm that was doing market research, and it really afforded me an opportunity to kind of learn on the job as well as in the classroom. I really enjoyed that.
So you stayed in Boston for how many years after?
Oh gosh, for well over 10 or 15 years until coming here to San Francisco.
And what brought you here?
It was with a job.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was with a job. I was working for Lotus, which is a software company that was quite popular. It was actually a big Microsoft competitor in its day.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, but eventually Lotus got bought by IBM. But during my time there, I was there for over 10 years, and during my time there, I took a position that was based here in San Francisco and was excited to move here. Mm-hmm. It was great.
And where did the Netherlands come in, and how in the world did you end up in the Netherlands?
You know, I've always had an interest in international business and international cultures, and I found this opportunity that I took advantage of right after finishing college. I did a summer intensive business program at a university in the Netherlands for the summer. It afforded me a great way to go and meet a lot of folks from all around the world, and it also gave me a way to do at least a little bit of time touring around parts of Europe that I otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to see. And it was a great opportunity. Some kids just do a summer in Europe. I did a summer school in Europe, I guess.
And what was the Netherlands like? I mean,
well, you know, I'll tell you, the food was very different. I can promise you that.
What do they eat? What is their main staple there?
They have this odd paste that they put on bread in the morning, and that's kind of their whole breakfast. And I was looking for bacon and eggs, to be honest, and I wasn't finding that. But they also have some really delicious foods there that people have brought in from all across Europe. I got to tell you, I really looked forward to not only meeting the people in the program, but also everything is so close by there. You can just hop on a train, and in 1 or 2 or 3 hours you can be in France or Belgium or somewhere else, and I really tried to take advantage of that on the weekends when I was there. It was just a whole great learning experience.
And speaking of taking the trains here and there,
yes,
you got into Muni. After
right.
IBM, you
That's
graduated and worked for Muni. In what capacity?
I was the Deputy General Manager of Capital Planning and Government Affairs for Muni, which meant that basically I was looking at a lot of the interface between Muni, the Municipal Transportation Agency here, and the state government and the federal government. All public transit systems in the country actually get a lot of support and a lot of assistance in terms of funding from both state and federal funders. And we use those funds to do things like replace vehicles, buy new buses when they're ready to be retired, buy new trains when they're ready to be retired, and even do more exciting projects like the 3rd Street Light Rail, which the new line that just opened a few years ago here in San Francisco. Our department worked on bringing most of the money here to help pay for that line, and it's also going to be the money to pay for the extension of that line when that line gets extended in through a new subway tunnel underneath Market Street, underneath Union Square to Chinatown, and it's going to deliver great service throughout the center of the city.
You've seen the difference, and it's getting better all the time. There's nothing you and I won't